All right. Good evening. Hello, everybody. This is Mike Covert, and welcome to Beaufort County's House of Cards. Kind of a different one tonight. I'm not in the studio. I had to do some work out of town, so we're coming to you from an undisclosed location. And there's a lot of stuff going on tonight back in the Low Country. With you got the GOP meeting. I hear there's a Democrat Party meeting. Candidates out there making their rounds all over the place. And so we're just glad to have you with us. And if you're going to watch this later, we're super glad you tuned in. Don't forget, you tune in at several different places: Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. Our YouTube channel, you can go to Beaufort County's House of Cards, and every show is on there. Jump on there, subscribe, and all that, and have a good time. Don't forget to join us at patreon.com/Beaufort House of Cards. That's Patreon, patreon.com, Beaufort House of Cards. So this week, what we're going to be doing, Tuesday, we had the City Council of the City of Beaufort Mayoral, or I'm sorry, not Mayoral, but Council Candidates Forum. And we heard from Mr. Gibson, Mr. Anderson, and Mr. Scalati. All did a fine job. It was the first time we've ever hosted one, and it was the first one that many, if not all of them, were at one. So everything went off without a hitch, and you've got three excellent choices there for town council. I also want to be sure to pass along, our very first advertiser for Big Patriot Radio. That's right. Big Patriot Radio is coming. It really is. There's a lot of logistics and stuff that has to happen to make that happen. Our very first advertiser is Denise Ressler with Exit Realty of Hilton Head. And folks, like it says on the screen, are you buying or selling Bluffton, Beaufort, Hilton Head? You've only got one call to make, and that's Denise Ressler of Exit Realty of Hilton Head. Denise is my go-to when it comes to advice on real estate purchasing or selling, and she should be yours too. Give her a call, 412-979-6297. That's 412-979-6297, and you'll be hearing more about her on Big Patriot Radio as we go forward. If you have a business and you'd like to be a part of something phenomenal here in the Low Country, in the region, in the state, and quite frankly, we are not only nationwide, but we are also going to be worldwide. You can get your voice, your name out there. Just to hit me up with a phone call, a DM, a PM, whatever, tweet, whatever you want. And we'll be glad to take care of that for you and get you on board. So the Mayoral Candidates Forum, just to preface this a little bit before I see we have our guest there in the green room, and we'll be bringing her on here shortly. I had sent out invitations to Ms. Orischak, Mr. Perry, and Mr. Santaromo. I'm probably saying that wrong, but forgive me. I heard from Mr. Perry. First I heard from Ms. Orischak. Immediately, she said, "I'm all in," and we appreciate that. Hence why she's here tonight. I heard from Mr. Perry. He said that he had something else on the books, but he would send someone else. I declined that. I don't think that's good for him nor me to have someone else making statements on a political elected official's behalf. That's not good business. And then I heard from Mr. Santaromo, and I apologize deeply for that. He was supposed to be on here tonight, but we've got some logistical things. Me out of town, I can't add people other than one. So to make it easier, make it fair, because I spoke with Ms. Orischak first, I'm going to have her on here tonight. I did reach out to Michael Santaromo and earlier today and told him I'd be glad to do this Friday evening when I get back, or Saturday. He has left that up to me. So probably sometime Saturday, we'll have another show that'll be dedicated. The same questions that I'm going to ask Mrs. Orischak, I'll be asking him as well. So with that, let's do this. Joanne, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Hey,
It's
Mike.
a pleasure to see you. Welcome to Beaufort County's House of Cards and Big Patriot Radio. A little bit different scene tonight. I'm not in the area, so I'm surprised I could get this to do this. I'm not the most technical computer guy, so as you were in the green room, I hope you overheard me saying everybody had been invited and
Yes.
how we're going to move this forward.
Yes.
So what I would like to do, we got a lot of questions. This is going to be very, very informal, not stuffy like most
Wonderful.
forums are, because it's just me and you. There will be people coming in and out. There's a big GOP meeting going on right now that I think is ending. Some fireworks over there. They'll be jumping on more of them as we go along, but I highly suspect that the viewership on the taping of this is going to be astronomical. The folks from Hilton Head, as they come back, they'll be wanting to watch this. So anyway, if you could give us an introduction of who is Joanne Orischak.
Who is Joanne Orischak? Okay. Well, um, we moved to Hilton Head Island, my husband and I, about 20 years ago. So we're longtime residents on Hilton Head Island. We raised our three children here. Our three children all attended our public schools. We're a big public school family, all the way through the university level. Um, I started out as a young mother, very engaged in my children's education. So, I would volunteer in schools. I served on the Hilton Head Island Middle School School Improvement Council. I started a gifted and talented parent advocacy group for parents of gifted children, and we brought in national speakers to educate parents. And this group actually grew to include a Bluffton contingency. So after I'd become so involved in our schools, I decided to run for our Beaufort County Board of Education in 2012. And I won my bid for that, the District 11 seat. And then I ran again in 2016. So I bring elective office experience to my role as mayor. Um, Moving on, after I finished serving 2 terms on the school board, I took a little time off, and then I began working for an outfit called Low Country Inside Track, which I know you're familiar with, Mike. And what Low Country Inside Track does, and I encourage everyone to look it up. It's a wonderful business started by a gentleman named Joe Crowley and Eleanor Lightsey some 20 years ago. And what they do is send out representatives to all the government meetings in the area. And I'm a representative, and I've been covering and paying close attention to Hilton Head Island Town Council and committee meetings. So that's allowed me, it's really afforded me the opportunity to become very familiar with all of the issues facing our town council today. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And speaking of education, didn't I read that either one? I don't know if you have more than one son, but don't you have a son that went to University of Virginia?
Yes, I have. Let me tell you about a little bit about each of them. I have 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. My youngest, Andrew, he was a very sort of accomplished junior golfer in the area, and he went on to play golf for the University of Virginia. Yes, and
Go
he's
Cavaliers.
yeah, exactly. Wahoo wah for any Virginia fans watching. And then my middle son, Adam, he after graduating from Hilton Head High, went on to the United States Naval Academy, and he's a naval officer. He is stationed out in Coronado, California at this time. And our only daughter, Alexandra, she's a nurse practitioner and she works in a women's health practice in North Carolina. So we're proud of them. I miss them. I don't get to see them as often as I would like.
Yeah.
But they're doing well. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely, absolutely. My wife and I are from Virginia originally, and we both grew up probably, I don't know, 45 miles or so from the University of
Oh,
Virginia.
I didn't realize.
Absolutely, just it maybe is 50 miles, a little further east,
It's
but
a beautiful area. It
oh
really
yeah,
is.
it's a good place to be from. I don't want to live there, but it's a great place to be from. All right, well, let's get this thing started. The first question: why would voting Joanne Orischak for mayor be the wise choice for voters?
Well, I think we deserve a mayor who wants to listen, who values citizens' input. And that's important with any and all of the critical issues that the town is facing right now, whether it's the bridge corridor project or it's affordable housing. We need a mayor that really takes into account how our citizens feel about these issues. Um, Mike, you and I have served in elective office before. We know the challenges that it presents. It is a privilege to serve. It really is, although sometimes it doesn't feel like a privilege, but but it is. And there are difficult decisions that you have to sort out, and it's not easy work. So when someone steps up who's served before and wants to apply themselves to a different elected office, they're sincere. You understand that they've already gone through those trials and they know what it's like to serve on an elective body and what those dynamics are like. So I do bring that experience with me. I'm the only candidate in this race that does have elective office, to my credit. And I'm also willing, and I've said this so many times, but it bears repeating. I will be leaving my employment to become a full-time mayor. And I think that the mayorship actually deserves that level of commitment. I can't understand how you could do that job part-time. There's so much research that you have to do. And if you're to do the job really well, you're going to be attending so many meetings. You're going to be reaching out to your constituency, gaining understanding about where their interests and concerns are. Even in improving relationships with our county council. It might be worthwhile for our mayor to show up and be present at some of those meetings as well. So it's a full-time effort. I regard it as such, and that's the commitment that I'll be bringing to the office if elected.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As is usual practice here on the show, I try to, if it's worth me putting back up on the screen and it's safe, we have a comment there from Mike Gleason, and
Yes.
anybody else, when they put comments on here, we'll put them up. Anyway, Mike Gleason, good friend of the show, says, just a reminder that you were also the chair of the school board finance committee. So.
I was. And big budget, 3 times the size of the town's budget. And as you know, we would bring recommendations back to the full board. So that's another experience. I served on several committees. I even served on the Beaufort Jasper Academy for Career Excellence for a while. So yes.
This kind of ties into my next question. And, a full-time mayor or even a part-time mayor, there are particular leadership styles. So as a full-time mayor, what is your type of leadership style, and how do you lead?
I would say I would be classified as a consensus builder. Now, when I say consensus builder, that doesn't mean that every vote has to be a 7-0 vote or an 11-0 vote, whatever the case may be. It means that you're working in concert with the rest of the council. Okay, the mayor only has one vote on any given issue, just like all of the council members. And so that is truly the greatest extent of your power. But I say consensus, but at the same time, it's important to note that each and every council member answers to their respective constituencies. And I like to say, dissent is not a dirty word when it reflects the wishes of the electorate.
Mhm.
So, Mike, that it can be problematic when a chairman or a mayor goes off and acts unilaterally and takes
Mhm.
actions absent of the full council's agreement. That can be a problematic scenario, one that I would, avoid. And it can divide very quickly a council or a board. So that would explain my leadership style.
Okay. You had mentioned a little bit ago, possibly as mayor, being active with other municipalities and county that you have to work with. So my next question: currently, town council, Hilton Head Town
Mhm.
Council, and the county council don't have what I would refer to as a picturesque or a Norman Rockwell moment relationship. What will you do to mend that from the town's perspective?
Um, well, the both bodies, their composition is about to change through the election process. So whenever you introduce new individuals, new personalities, the dynamics will change. Um, I think first it's important to build strong relationships among the town council and whatever is possible there before we can move forward as a unified front and present ourselves to the county council. I think all of that matters. But I do think a mayor of Hilton Head who shows up at county council meetings and shows an interest and is present,
Mhm.
and again, all of this takes an enormous amount of time, but it would be an effort, I think, worth making to bridge that. There are never any guarantees, okay? And there's always past baggage that you inherit when you walk into a new situation. But I would certainly do my best. I have a nice rapport with some of the existing and some of the candidates who are coming on board. So I'm optimistic.
Good, good. Well, let's talk about anytime that you go somewhere nowadays and people are talking about government or the town or the county, there's usually at least one elephant in the room. And this one is the bridges.
Ah, the bridges.
So recently, County Council Chairman Passaments made a comment, and I'm going to paraphrase. It's not word for word.
Oh, okay.
It's Mike Covert's paraphrasing.
That's
And
dangerous.
that's dangerous. That's very dangerous. But regardless, uh, he says we're moving forward regardless of what town council wants or
Mm,
desires, as we have that ability under state law. I understand what he's saying
yeah.
from looking at the law. That doesn't mean that was a wise thing to say. My question to you with that, was that a fair and reasonable comment? And why was it, or why was it not?
Mhm. Well, the reality is at the end of the road, with all the information that's gathered, if there isn't municipal consent on the part of Hilton Head Island, the project falls apart. And I think we have to bear that in mind. Okay, that is a reality. Um, perhaps the individual could have chosen their words better. Certainly, them's fighting words that comes to mind.
Sure.
And I think words matter, and I think how we address each other matters. Were they fair words? I mean, there's some truth to it, that there is a level of control there at the county level that they have. But I think at the end of the day, there has to be some recognition of the importance of Hilton Head Island, not only in the county, but at the state level. So we can just keep reminding them of that along the way,
Right.
subtly and tactfully, of course. But
Sure.
yeah.
There is just a sidebar comment to that. I remember when I was on council that there was some conversations about roads and municipalities, specifically with the town of Bluffton. And there's case law in South Carolina. It's the town of Williamston versus Anderson County, and there's case law and an attorney general's opinion about who should take care of what. To bring that down, basically the attorney general says if you're a municipality it was either 1,200 or 1,500 residents, you should be able to take care of your own roads. So, and we left that at that. I do remember the conversation that I had with Weston Newton back at the time, that because of some undercurrents that was being thought about, and he had made a point to tell me, and as time went along, I agree that here locally that would be an unwise thing to do. So in my opinion, what do I mean by all that? I think this was unwise to say that, because if you're going to open that box, then you need to be strong enough to open it all the way up. And I don't think anybody believes that the town of Hilton Head needs to take care of their own road system. That's just my opinion. For what it's worth.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, on the subject of fiscal accountability. I had this question. Anybody, candidate-wise, I've asked this because I think it's very important. I considered myself a fiscal hawk. You were the chairwoman of the finance committee, so you obviously know finances up and down and way better than me. So my question is, will you support an effort to require, not ask for, but require the Chamber of Commerce and any other recipient of tax monies to provide a full accounting showing a full ledger, not just half of it, but a full ledger before approving disbursements?
May I ask a question of you first?
You fire away.
Okay. Now, I know that you made an effort some time ago with a few council members. I forget who, but you weren't alone.
Right.
And you requested additional information,
Right.
and you were unsuccessful in that effort. The additional information that you were requesting, did that align with the contract that you had with the chamber?
At that time, I don't believe, I don't know that we had one, to be totally honest, or I don't know that we had one that was duly signed and enforceably executed where I was going. But the documents that I've looked at in prior years and prior administrators, yes, called that out. But as with a lot of things we see, that never happened, or only half of the ledger was shown.
Yeah. So I would have to take a very careful look at the contract that the town has with the chamber as its designated marketing organization. That's number one. And I know that we have a little bit of time left on the existing contract before it expires, maybe 1 or 2 more years. For me, given all the unsuccessful attempts in the past that others have made in seeking additional information. That's not my focus.
Mhm.
I'm actually a little more interested in looking at, does the town of Hilton Head actually need to do as much marketing as we're doing? I mean,
Good
that's,
point.
we're making a very, very big investment, millions. And as we know, a high percentage of our visitors are repeat visitors.
Mhm.
So with a new, when it comes time to review that contract with a newly constituted council, I think that that's a question I would like to look at. I receive a lot of feedback um, from folks who say, why are we doing all that marketing? Are we bringing more people in? Is it contributing to overcrowding? And are there alternatives? We're using our ATAX dollars for that DMO, and part of that is regulated by state law.
Right.
But are there other options? Could you use, for example, a different funding source and go with a private marketing firm for a fraction of what we're paying, and then divert those ATAX dollars to much needed infrastructure improvement? So that's really more my line of thinking and where I'm
Sure.
leaning toward at this time.
Maybe I didn't, and I appreciate that. I do.
Yeah.
And you've answered something else, but let me go back to, I'm not referring to DMO as that is that's another subject
Okay.
that I don't actually get into. Uh, However, I will say that I think DMO contracts could be a great conversation in and of itself.
Okay. I
I'm thinking
misunderstood.
I'm thinking more of the actual ATAX, because the Chamber of Commerce and all three or four or whatever there is in the county, they all come back for more. Yes, there are DMO monies, and absolutely they need to be held accountable for them. But them and a number of and largely fantastic nonprofits come
Mhm.
back for ATAX dollars.
Yes.
However, my question with that is, will you require them? Let's just say it's Mike's Dog and Pony Show. Would you require me to show you a full accounting, a full ledger of the monies that I have received, because it's all done
Right.
retroactive? Will you, that's the question, is would you, if you don't have it, then we're not
Mhm.
going to give it to you. And before you answer, there is another body that in my tenure, that we were looking at, that would not show half the ledger.
Yeah.
But because of some stipulations, it was a lot of pressure
Hmm.
to help this group. But how we got around that was, you send us the bills and we'll pay them up to this amount. That way
Hmm.
we knew where the money was going. And I think that worked out, at least while I was there, that worked out okay. So it's more the ATAX funds is what I'm asking.
Right. Right. In fact, today we had an all day ATAX, uh, the board or commission, where various entities were coming before them and essentially uh, applying for ATAX dollars. So we have a certain level of vetting that takes place at the committee level. And then, of course, I guess recommendations are brought to the full council from there. I wasn't able to attend the full day because I had other campaign commitments. I would have liked to, however. Um, Whatever we would require of the chamber, I think we would have to require of everyone else as well that applies for our ATAX dollars. I think consistency is king
Right.
there. So to answer your question, if we're going to do that, we would have to apply that to every entity that's coming for ATAX.
Thank you. Um, I want to move towards not a popular subject,
Hmm.
but it is increasingly becoming more and more part of our everyday lives here in the Low Country, and that is crime.
Yeah.
Many folks in our positions don't want to bring that word up because that could damage things. But I think we all need to have a dose of reality, and instead of burying our heads, talk about it and find out what elected leaders like you, what's your plan for this? So I dug up some statistics. According to crimegrade.org, a crime occurs every 3 hours and 44 minutes on average on Hilton Head. Primarily property crimes, not violent crimes, but there is a fair number of those. NeighborhoodScout.com cited that Hilton Head is only safer than 23% of the U.S. cities. When I sat down and I had to draw in my mind what that meant, that kind of shocked me a little bit. What needs to happen, in your opinion, to lower the crime rate on Hilton Head, and is that a plan to get something started?
Well, I think that's a question for the sheriff's office. But I know there are a lot of preventable crimes. I just watched a presentation at a town council meeting that the sheriff's office does routinely. And a lot of them were car break-ins, home break-ins. Guns were stolen from unlocked cars. People don't lock their cars and their front doors, apparently. So some of it, from the sounds of it, is preventable. Now, some folks, not many, but some folks believe we should have our own police department. And, I'm going to segue to your next question. I think I got the feeling I just did.
Yeah, you're right there on it.
Yeah, I don't know how loud that voice is. It's coming in here and there. Until there's sort of a gathering of folks coming forward demanding that, I don't see it having any traction. I'm not against it. I'm somewhat neutral about it. I don't feel like I have enough information. I know that it would be costly, but I would support a study to see, what it would take, what the cost would be, what other factors would be included. If there was enough call for it, absolutely. Again, listening to the public. So what do you think about that, Mike?
Let me ask me that again in just a second. Let me ask you something else about unlocked cars and all the things that I believe they lump into property crime in that bucket. Is there something that the town could do, maybe in conjunction with the sheriff's office or on its own, to educate, I guess is the word I'll use, citizens and guests, tourists, on good practices? Do you think that would be beneficial, money well spent, to try to lower some of the crime rate?
Sure. And we have a new position, high-level position at the town. I don't have the title. It's like a code enforcement officer. Bob Bromage from the sheriff's office now occupies that position. And admittedly, the position is taking shape as we speak. I'm sure there'll be some additional employees underneath Bob. But I think that particular component will go a long way in sort of extending the services that we already have through our sheriff's office. And obviously, there's a strong relationship there between the two. So I think that component might advance what you're suggesting here as time goes on. But again, the office is new. It's brand new, and they're creating it as they go.
Great. You had asked, and my next question was going to be, what are your opinions of the town forming, like other municipalities, its own police force? You had asked my opinion. The many things that you said, I believe, are exactly correct, and that's beginning with the cost. I remember when Bluffton went through this exercise, they ended up spending, I want to say it was like $19 million. And that was I don't even know how long ago, 15 years ago, maybe. I don't even
Mhm.
know now. So that cost has obviously skyrocketed from there. And I don't know if that, as Mr. Gleason just says, no town police force, please.
I hear you,
Um,
Mike.
the I don't know if the town economically is ready for something like that. Annual costs obviously
Mhm.
aren't like that, as that's being or was seen in Bluffton. However, I remember when I was on council at the very end, this conversation between contracts of the sheriff's department, county council,
Mhm.
and town council, there was a lot of things being said, and the subject came up, and Sheriff Tanner was very professional about it, and his position was, hey, if the town wants to do that, that's perfectly okay. I'm just here to do my constitutional duty, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
If the town of Hilton Head gets to the point where it's ready to go into something like that, then we need leaders like you or Mr. Perry or Mr. Sataramo or whatever to make that happen. So I
Mhm.
appreciate that, and possibly as you saw, maybe Mike Gleason is speaking from a lot of people. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's got to bubble up. It's got to bubble up from the people. Okay, there has to be enough of a demand being vocalized from them. I think again for it to have legs.
Right.
Uh, so we'll see how that progresses. I'll be watching for that one.
A couple other questions that have just come to mind.
Yeah.
What does Hilton Head want to be? We've gone from back in the days of Charles Frazier and
Hmm.
his creation of the island.
Hmm.
He dreamt up a lighthouse and built it out of plywood and then smeared concrete on it as a selling tool. The man is brilliant, or was brilliant. Hilton Head became something and then evolved into something else. So here we are, 50 years, 60 years, whatever it is later. What
Hmm.
does Hilton Head want to be for the next 5 or 10 years?
That's a great question. Charles Frazier is still very much with us and among us. Um, and that sentiment is still alive and well. But we're a little worn around the edges. We're a little tattered. We have some blighted areas, which brings up just briefly the Mid Island Revitalization Project, which is focused on doing some of those things. And there's many aspects to that project. It's a costly one, and it's one that the existing town council will be deciding on an initial phase one. Evidently, it's slated for November 1st. Um, and then, because it is such a massive undertaking, a future council would perhaps carve it up into separate projects. Um, but I think we need to continue to nurture our native islanders and our Gullah Geechee population. Um, there's some great things happening there. They're the foundation for our island.
Hmm.
And so I'm excited about some of the things I'm hearing there. They give our island interest and a history that's so important to who we are, and that should never change. Um, but the next 5 or 10 years, we have developed a strategic action plan that is very measured and charted out in regard to which projects we're going to be approaching and when. And of course, all of that took place um, prior to this November and is in action. Many of the projects are in action, but I don't know if that answers your question. Um, I think there's still a big push for land preservation and keeping development down. At the same time, there's a very loud call for workforce and affordable housing. So we have to find a balance there on how to make that happen. Um, so it's there are a lot of challenges for the new council, but again, the Bridge and Corridor project is is paramount. That is the biggest one on the table.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate that answer. And I don't know if you've been a regular watcher of the show, but usually every couple of weeks I will do a segment on history. And I have one coming up on Mitchellville and the story behind Mitchellville and the Colonel Mitchell, the whole thing that I think is it, as you said, that's the foundation. And I guess actually, really, the foundation goes back 4,000 years to Indians. I believe it's called the Baynard Shell Ring or something. So I'm not fully educated on that. That really is the foundation, but the Gullah Geechee foundational aspect of it is equally as important, if not more so. I'm going to dig into that. But do you feel? I've spoken with Councilman Brown, who I hold in high regard and respect him.
Mhm.
Do you feel that if not handled properly, the new bridge project could damage some of the Gullah Geechee lands that, I mean, it's coming right towards it.
Mhm.
Do you think it will damage it, and how much of an importance is that to you?
And again, at the end of the day, if there isn't municipal consent, the project doesn't go forward. And I can assure you my vote won't be used to displace or damage those longstanding or historic communities in any way. So, of course, I'm just one vote. but
Well, as mayor, you're, the mayor, when the mayor speaks, people, need to listen. And I do
that's
think
what I tell my husband.
I think it's important. You had said earlier, let me see here. You had said earlier that about votes, that it doesn't have to be an 11-0 or a 7-0 or
Yeah.
whatever. And I find, to be totally transparent with you, I find that whatever the political body, whenever they have these 100% votes and it's historical, I find that rather disingenuous, and it makes me wonder what is happening out of the public eye. Because whether you're 3, 5, 7, 11, you have to have differing opinions. That's what makes this so awesome.
Well,
So,
you and I operated very similarly, I think, on our respective elective bodies. We weren't afraid to take our positions, even if we found ourselves in the minority, because again, if it's based on your own personal convictions, strong convictions, or feedback from your constituents, you have to represent. So I don't know. It's a question mark for me as well. Our seated town council it's unusual, really, from what I've been observing, to have a dissenting vote. And I asked about that. It's funny you're raising that, and I asked about that, and I said, well, how is that to happen? How is that to be? And the explanation that was given to me, it actually makes sense that much of everything is already vetted at their standing committee level. Now, you have a 7-member council, and each of their standing committees is comprised of 4. So at any given standing committee, if you have a unanimous, vote of 4, that's a quorum of your town council.
right.
So it's essentially almost locked in that when it does get to council, it's going to be approved. So I think that's a structural, how they're currently structured. But you do have the occasional dissenting voice with our town council. It's as you know, it's dramatically different with our county council and our
Right.
school board.
Yeah.
As compared. So the dynamics are very different on the Hilton Head Island Town Council. I like the way they conduct themselves. I've liked what I've seen very much. Yeah.
Joanne, those are the questions that I had for you. I would like to give you the opportunity, take as long as you want, to give a closing statement. to tell the voters everything that you need them to know, how to reach you. So the floor is yours.
Excellent. Okay. So I don't have a website, but I do have a Facebook page, and I encourage everyone to visit. It's Joanne Orischak for Hilton Head Island Mayor. And you can go on there and see various positions that I've taken over time. I'm excited for November 8th. I don't know how this is going to go. I'm very encouraged thus far. I do need your vote, Hilton Head Island, to succeed. I'll work hard to represent the residents of Hilton Head Island. That's my focus. And if you would indulge me for a moment, Mike, and I know you're a historian and you like to talk about the past, I want to talk a little bit about, and all along through my campaign, I've been speaking about Hilton Head Island's only woman mayor. And a lot of folks don't know that Hilton Head Island had a woman mayor. And I've been paying homage to her. Her name was Martha Kale Baumberger. And she was mayor. I'm just going to read a couple of items from her obituary. She was a very special person. Just a few points for you. She was elected 3 times to the Evanston School Board. So she was a school board member prior. She was instrumental in resolving community tensions over school integration issues. So this goes way back. She proposed, listen to this one, talk about history repeating itself. She proposed a resolution in 1983 that the county, she served on the county council as well, that the county move forward on the Cross Island Parkway, thus braving many irate phone calls that such a project would ruin Hilton Head Island. She was amazing. Martha Baumberger, everyone. She took actions to extend the bike path system on Hilton Head Island. She opened up the Island Recreation Center through a public-private partnership and arranging for the first Island Beach renourishment project. So she was Hilton Head's only woman mayor, and I would be very honored to be Hilton Head Island's second woman mayor.
Awesome. Well, Joanne, best of luck to you. I thank you for being on the show, and you can come back anytime you'd like, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Mike. You're good company. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Good night.
All right. All right. Let's go back here. All right. So again, we're coming to you from outside of Beaufort County. Had to go, as you can see, I'm not in the studio, so things are a bit different. I appreciate Joanne Orischak coming on. And again, here in the next couple of days, I'll have Michael Santoramo, and I again apologize for butchering that. I'll have him on, ask him those same questions. It'd be good to hear what he's got to say. I did ask Alan Perry. He had something planned, so he says, but he would send somebody else. I don't think it's a good idea. We'll see, if he can make it. Since I've had to break this up, we'll do that again. So I want you to remember that we will be back next Thursday, back in town. There's a lot of things that are happening. Some things happen tonight that I understand that I want to get some video of and some reports on. Also, there are a lot of things shaking with this book, school book in libraries situation. Tuesday, here on the show, we reported and showed you some examples of what is in the county school system libraries. Now, we have had one county school board member claim that there are not 96. And yes, we have found 96 books, 96 titles that would turn up to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books, but 96 titles. One school board member, and we'll go into who later, that's not the point, came and said, there's only 4. There isn't 96. Those people don't know what to talk about. Well, that is not true. We have shown all 96. We will continue to show those. We are pressing for some meetings. I have sent letters, and I have another one going out as a professional courtesy to the Beaufort County School Board, as well as Dr. Rodriguez and his underlings, as a professional courtesy and as this. I don't play gotcha ball, but what's coming to them happened in Pickens County, and it became embarrassing for Pickens County. It probably, some people lost their job. That's how that works in Pickens County, and it could have been avoided if they'd have done the right thing. Now, in all fairness, the county school board did respond to one of my emails. The late David Strebinger, the chairman, responded, as well as the vice chair, Kathy Robine. Their emails were different, yet the same message. And that message was, and others have heard this too, that message was, fill out form ILC-240 and then A12-5_F. Fill it out in triplicate and send it in, and we'll look at those books. As I told them then, I will say it now. It's way past that. This isn't something that we need to, send in and have you look at and discuss. These are books that are X-rated, R-rated, that have scores of 3 to 5 in the Aberrant Covenant rating system, that are just flat out trash. To sit there and wait and discuss them is ludicrous. I'm not saying I'm not a burn book kind of person. They need to be removed. Okay, they need to be removed. It's as simple as would you like to have a cross-dressing person in your school dancing with your child? Any normal, sane parent would say no. Between K and 12, they're not old enough to understand why that person does that, how they do it. They're not old enough. They're not mature enough. That's not something they need to be subject to. So your child does not need to be subject to going to the library and pulling a book out that talks about white people being bred racist. They don't need to go to the library and pull out a book that talks about child pornography or child sex trafficking, anal sex. I mean, the list just goes on. These are available in your child's library. Interesting enough, I'll add this in there. This week, a school board administrator or school district administrator was arrested. I believe he is still in jail as of this afternoon. Daniel Fallon, who is a director of accountability, I believe it was. Now, he is innocent until proven guilty. Absolutely, I get it. But he has been charged and was arrested for a child sex crime. I don't know what the extent of that was, other than what was reported as trying to lure a child into something. Again, it's alleged he's innocent until proven guilty. But it's interesting that would happen while we're talking about this subject of these books in schools. So my question and the question of a lot of parents that I have talked with and grandparents has been, who approves these books? Who approves them? Where do they come from? We're being told that there's a group that on the outside that approves them, and it's just flushed through. My question there is, someone at the administrative level has to see this. We've requested a meeting with Dr. Stratus to ask those questions. And as we do, we will report those back to you. So that is going to do it for us tonight. I hope you all have enjoyed the show. Again, we're a little bit different atmosphere, sounds probably a lot different, but the content is still just as good. We'll be back next Thursday, 7 o'clock. Be sure to go to patreon.com/Beaufort House of Cards and join us. Become a member. These videos, this live stream is free. Making it's not, and we would honorably love your support. So thanks again. We'll see you soon, and God bless America.